Hello. I'm just making sure that you can hear me. Okay. How are you? It just feels like it's been forever and ever and ever since I've done a live. Although it's only been a week. I hope you enjoyed last week with Shauna. She did an awesome job in my absence, and she was talking about how you can reduce your impact on the environment. So if you missed that one, do make sure that you scroll back and catch that with Shauna. So if you're here, do say hello, give me a wave. Hello Kat, hello Helen. I'm just trying to see if I can see some comments. Yeah, hi Alison, how are you? Hi Bex. I hope you've had a good week. I am still on recovery mode from half term. As most of you know, I really struggle when the children are off school. It's not something that comes easily to me. I find it very, very tiring. But we're back and we're here. And yeah, quickly, if you're waiting for me to reply to emails, I'm really sorry. I'm working on it. It's taken me all day just to get through them. But I will reply over today or tomorrow, just in case, because I've got a few of you that I know are waiting for me to get back to you, and I'm so sorry. Okay. So, without ado, let's get started talking about Instagram. So, if you're new to the group, if you've not joined me for one of these lives, this is what we call Marketing Monday. And each week I come to you with hopefully some help and some tips, and we have a little bit of a chat about where you're at and if I can help with anything, or if you want to pick my brains, this is a good time to do that. And so, yeah. I'm Jenny, if you don't know who I am, also known as the Equine Business Assistant, and I specialise in helping equestrian businesses to move forward by using the internet and to get a bit of online horsepower going. So, we're talking about Instagram today, and I love Instagram. When I first came to it, it took me a while to get used to Instagram. It's a very different platform to Facebook. So, it requires a little bit of a different approach. So if you are on Instagram, give me a thumbs up or a heart or something so I can see that we're on Instagram, because I know many of you are. And what I'll do is at the end, please do pop all your Instagram handles in, so of course we can make sure that we follow everybody, because that's one of the joys of this group. So we're all here to support each other and we can follow. So I had a few questions come through to me yesterday, so I'll try and answer those as we go through today and in the following couple of weeks. And also, if you've got any questions that you want me to answer, feel free to ask them. So the plan is, I'll look at my notes here. So the plan is that today I want to talk about a little bit about why, what, who, how, and how I use Instagram, how I've found it to be useful for me and my business, and how I think we can translate that into the equestrian business market, so that you can also grow and get more followers and get more customers, ideally. And then next week I was thinking about sharing some real specific tips and going a bit more into detail on like the stories, and hashtags. I'm thinking for maybe the week after, and then like about writing the captions and stuff like that. But if there's anything else in particular that you want help with on Instagram, do of course pop that in, because these lives are very, very much driven by you guys. So if there's something that you need me to answer, we'll go through that. Now, I haven't prepared any slides tonight, so you're going to have to look at my ugly mug, so I do apologise, but we will have a little bit of a look on the phone and go through some of the stuff that you need to be knowing about on Instagram. So the first thing is about whether, that I got asked quite a bit, is whether your people are on Instagram. So this is where last month we talked a little bit about ideal clients, and it's always good to get an idea of your ideal client and whether they would be on Instagram, because again, you don't want to be wasting time on the platform if it's not somewhere where they're likely to be. However, there's also the age demographic, and so some people say, well, I cater for older people and they're not all on Instagram, but actually the statistics show that the ages of 13 and 17, you've got 72% of 13 to 17-year-olds are on Instagram. When you get to 18 to 29, 64% of those are on Instagram in that age bracket, so that's quite big. So if you're targeting 18 to 29-year-olds, 64% is quite a lot. Then between 30 and 49, 40% of people are on Instagram, and 50 and 64, 21% of that age bracket are on Instagram, and then 65 and over, only 10% are. So there is still quite a large demographic. Now, it does change also, like with rural, like whether they live in rural areas, suburban areas, urban areas. And the statistics that I found was that 25% of people in rural areas are on Instagram, 34% in suburban areas are on Instagram, and of course the urban areas is where most people are on Instagram. So Helen says, I get more from my Insta than from Facebook. Yes. And I must honestly tell you that when I was selling the content calendar, while I sold quite a lot through the group and through my page for people that already knew me, all the people that didn't already have an interaction with me and didn't know me, I can trace them all back to Instagram. And what I did was I went live and I put some stories out there, just sort of saying how I'd use the calendar, some tips on how to plan their content using the calendar, and that sold the calendar for me. And that was Instagram that did that, because I used the platform very differently at the time, and very differently at the time to my Facebook platform. So I knew that that's where they found me. So that did start to change the light bulb in my head to think, oh, actually, could this be a platform that I could focus my attention on? Because most of you know, we did the first Instagram training in this group, I think it was about November time. And then I hadn't been on it for very long at all. I'd set up the account, but I hadn't grown much of a following. And now I seem to have much better rhythm. I've got a much more engaged little group of followers, and I believe most of my followers are real, authentic followers for my niche, rather than just randoms. Because again, there's no point having 36,000 million followers if only 10 of them are likely to be your ideal client or your customer. That's just a waste of time. So that was the statistics a little bit, but also like 80% of accounts do follow businesses. So if you've got a business, you will be followed by people. The statistics also show that the best time to post is between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. But we'll talk a little bit on how to work out what works for your audience as we go through these trainings, because I don't want to flood you too much with information all at once. 1 out of 3 most viewed stories are actually from businesses, apparently, according to sort of 29 statistics. So I'm just sort of referring to my notes because I've been sort of doing quite a lot of things. So let's have a little bit of a look at the platform, and then I'll go through some of the questions that came in, because I know I've got questions about whether you put Facebook posts and Instagram posts to be the same, and so on. So I'm just going to have a quick look through the comments now. So Jules says, when I set up my account a few weeks ago, in my suggested follow list was my dad. I had no idea he had Instagram. Exactly. Sometimes it's really surprising who is on Instagram. And also, everybody is still, it's still quite a relatively new platform, and everybody is still learning how to use it and how to make the most of it. So if you can, like, get this now and be ahead of the trend, it's going to skyrocket your business, so it should be good. So Claire says, I get lots of bookings from Facebook. The younger ones follow on Instagram and watch our stories on Instagram more than Facebook. Yes. And it seems to be a much more engaging platform. And a lot of people tell me that they prefer the atmosphere that they get on Instagram. It seems to be a lot more positive. We don't get so many keyboard warriors that you get on Facebook. It doesn't seem to be that sort. It's a bit quicker. And although it's owned by Facebook, I think it can run very differently. So Amanda said, definitely age seems specific. Facebook works for all, and Insta seems younger. Yeah, it does. But as I said, Jules said, yeah, her dad's on there and she didn't know. And I think sometimes people do set it up. So again, if you can push that, that really, really makes a difference. So let's start off by having a look on your Instagram, and we'll just go through it because I know a lot of you are on this, but some of you aren't, so hopefully we can sort of explain a few different areas and how to make it better for you. So the first thing that you need to know about your Instagram feed, which sort of looks very much like this, is that everybody's is different. So I'm trying to hold it up, this lovely jasmine star. So everybody's feed is totally different, same as like your Facebook feed, but it doesn't work quite like Facebook. The main thing that you need to know is at the bottom you've got your little magnifying glass. So if you've got your phones and you're watching on the phone, don't switch over because I don't want to lose you. But if you happen to be watching on a computer, perhaps you could have a little bit of a look through. So when you click on the magnifying glass, that is the Explore page. And you'll see everybody's Explore page is totally different. And this is run by the algorithm. Now, one key thing that you notice about the Explore page is there are no names. There are no... You can't see the comments, you can't see the captions, you have no idea who it's from, you just see the pictures. So when you're thinking about posting to your Instagram feed, the first thing that you need to think about is the picture, because it's got to capture the attention on this page so that people go, oh, that looks like an interesting picture, I'm going to click on that one. So that's your first thing, is to get good images. Now, the age of pretty on Instagram seems to have passed. So don't feel like you've got to be pressured into making this curated, beautiful grid feed that looks great. And most of you know I did it for ages, and it was fun for me, and it looked good, but I don't think it really got me more followers. What did get me more followers was when I started to post things that I knew people would like to see, things that would show my personality, that would help them to understand what I can do for their businesses. So think about those things and what works well. So I would actually look at your insights to help you with that. But first of all, let's think about the way that it works. So the first thing is always about the image on Instagram. Facebook tends to be a bit more about the caption, and then the image comes below, and it's a very different hat almost. So the first thing is to get a really good image, and that's going to capture people. It's going to get their attention. Yeah. And then once you've got their attention, then you want to keep them with a really good caption. And the problem with the captions is that, according to the stats, only 8 out of 10 get read on Instagram. So you need to make sure that you keep them, and that you actually put something that's really, really good, something that's really, really juicy, that's going to actually encourage them to add a comment. It's going to ask the question. It's going to really get them to engage. And then give them a call to action, always in your captions. So that call to action could be send me a message, it could be check out the link that's in my bio, it could be go and look at my story, or follow me on Facebook, or do you want to add a comment? It's got to be, you give them something. They almost need spoon feeding. We're so used to consuming stuff on like social media so quickly these days that to make a stop and actually engage, it needs to be good. And sometimes it needs to be really, really clear. Yeah, so Alison says, yeah, you just feel that people just scroll like without actually reading or looking closely. Yeah. So you almost want to make sure that that picture that you're showing is so good that it makes them want to read what you've got to say. So it's got to spark that intrigue. It's got to get them aware. Now, I know somebody that used to just start putting like all these bright colours and everything else and totally And then it was like, well, nobody's looking at it. And I was like, because you're turning people off for all the wrong reasons. You know, you're standing out in the crowded marketplace, but for all the wrong reasons. It's still got to be classy. It still needs to be good and professional. Clear shots, again. And we're so lucky these days that our phones take the most amazing photos. I mean, when we go back to the original camera phones, if you think how terrible the pictures were, they take great photos now. So I find one thing that works for me again really well is like memes and captions, like quotes that make people stop and react quite quickly. And yeah, getting the time right really helps. But yeah, people are quite lazy. They're used to just giving like and not actually engaging unless there's a reason to engage. So yes, you almost want to make them stand out for the right reasons. And some of my best posts where I've had the most comments have been longer posts, like in the captions. But you want to mix it up a little bit, so you've got some easy ones to answer, some long ones where people suddenly go, yeah, I really feel that, I that's so me, I totally get that. But you want to be testing and trialing things, and then you need to be looking back at your insights regularly and go, what worked, and then doing more of that. Yeah, rather than just keep posting the same things. You actually want to be looking and seeing. So that is the first thing. So when you look at the Explore page, remember when you show up on this page for people, you need to make sure that your pictures are good enough to make them stop. Yeah. And even in their feeds, again, they're going to scroll through, and it's all about the picture. So it's got to be good enough to make them go, oh, stop, read it, or look at it. Videos are said to be like, I did write down the statistics. Videos are said to be 38% more engaging on Instagram, and people will look at the videos more. But I've noticed that with the videos, I don't get the likes as much. I don't know if that's just me on my profile, but I do get the engagement, so that's great. But yeah, so you need to be making sure that you capture the attention, then you do your caption, make it really juicy, and then you're going to aim to get them to look at your profile, okay? Because that's the next step that people take. If you imagine this path, they see your picture, they read your caption says, go to my link in my bio. And then they're going to click on your link in your bio, which is going to take them to your page, where your grid is. It's going to take them to your main page, where your actual grid and everything is. So when you look at this, there are a few key things that you need to be making sure that you've set up well for your business. The first one is like your name, that's in bold. Now that's your bold. So you might want to edit. I'll see if I can get. Now, can you see mine? It says Jenny, Equestrian Business Coach. It tells you to put your name in there, okay? But unless, one of the things I would say, unless you're really famous and people are searching for your name, it's not a clever idea. Think about what people would be searching for to do with your business and put that in as the name. Yeah. So it could be, like in Claire's case, it could be like Swinhoe Farm Riding Centre is what your name is, because that's your profile name. So that's fine. That stays the same. But on your actual name, you could put riding in Northumberland, because that's something that people would be searching for. Does that make sense? Or you could put equestrian coach in Essex, or Alison could just have horsehair jewellery specialist, or something that people might search for. And again, that's going to stand out. That's in bold. So when your profile does show up, when people are looking for it and they're looking for things, then they'll see that name. And they don't need to know what your name is. They can find your name out at any point. But unless you work off your name, don't use that for your name. Use that for something that's actually going to really specifically say to people, this is who I am and this is what I do. This is what I do. Because that stands out. And then make sure that your description area again, it actually says what you do for people. Yeah, don't tell them that you like coffee and cake. I did that on my first one. I was like, yeah, don't tell them. Nobody cares that I like cake unless you're all going to buy me lots of cake, are you? You can all give me a thumbs up if you're going to make sure that you get me lots of cake for our next live one. But they do care what you can do for them. And you can all do something great for people, otherwise you wouldn't be in business. So, yeah, you could be saying, like what you're gonna do. So mine at the moment says, I'm master marketing, get more clients, because that's a lot of what I do. Podcaster and speaker, because yes, I have a podcast, and I love to talk, as you can tell, is why I do these things, and also I do like a lot of live trainings and stuff. Social media strategist, because I absolutely love social media. And then I've done my hashtag, because you can actually add your hashtag in, and my hashtag is just as Equestrian Business. And then you've got the link. Okay, so we'll talk about the little link. So I then got like free training, and if anybody wants to know how you change the text, let's put this, like, can you see it says free training, and that's in darker. That uses a special font changer, and I can show you the link to do that if you want. But then I'm directing people to click on the link, because the link then goes to a special link tree that I've set up on my website. I don't use Linktree, I use my website, because I want them all on my website. I don't want them to Linktree. So this is how I know it works, because I can see the statistics. And then on that link, I give them like the option to this group. I give them the option to my blog, my podcast, and coaching sessions or something. But I keep it just to like a couple of options. And so that link, is what you want to drive people to, that you're promoting the most. So if you're in like a sales period where you're trying to sell something specific, make sure that link links to whatever you're selling now, and just give them that one option. If you're like not in a sales period, like I'm not really in a sales period at the moment, so mine just goes to my link tree, which gives people several options. So I hope that makes sense. So that's how you want to set your bio up. And if anybody'd like any help with that, or if you'd like to get my opinion on your bio, let's maybe add that into one of our weeks, if you'd like us to look at how we can make sure that the bios are eye-catching and see what we think might work. Right, so Helen says, I changed my weekly to different names and switch around on one of my accounts. My horse one I don't change. So Helen says, so on my antenatal one, I do pregnancy class Sussex, then I change it to Surrey, Hampshire, something like that. Yeah, absolutely. So make sure that that's quite specific. I kept Jenny in there just because I don't really know why. I kept Jenny as my Equine Business Coach. I don't know. I could take that out, but it still kind of says what I am, and it stands out. So that's the basics of like the feed and the grid. And so a lot of the time people say about the grid, does it need to be pretty, and does it need to look great? And my answer is, I love pretty. Most of you know I love pretty. Design is my thing. I love it to all look awesome. But I'll see if I can scroll down and show you some of the ones that I did. Can't get too far. But I used to do them a bit like this, where they all were a puzzle grid and they all fit together. And it looked really cool, but it took me ages. It also meant that I couldn't be like very spontaneous. So if I suddenly thought, I want to add that to my Instagram, it didn't fit in with my grid. It'd make everything all messy, so then I wouldn't. And then it also stopped me sharing my value, because I was thinking, I haven't done my grid, I can't do it. So I stopped that, and it has made probably more. I probably had more followers since I haven't been doing it, and I don't think I got many of my likes from it. But for me, it looked really cool, and I loved it. And I'm sure if people were visiting my Instagram page, they'd look and they'd go, "Oh, that looks a lovely grid." But yeah, again, when people come into your bio, they will look at your grid, because that's what happens. And as long as you've got stuff in there that makes them go, oh, this looks like something worth following. This looks like something I might like. There's some stuff here that I relate to. Then they're going to follow you. If, of course, you're trying to sell them riding lessons and every picture is of flowers, they might go, not really sure about this. If you know what I mean, it's not really what they came for. So make sure that so as long as your feed is showing what they're going to get on the tin, you know, it's as long as it's a good experience of what they're likely to get. That's all that matters. So don't let it put you off because it's got to be pretty or you've got to have it like beautiful. Because yeah, that looks great, but unless we've all got loads of time and loads of money to get somebody to do that for us, it won't make an awful lot of difference. The other thing that you'll probably notice on mine, I don't know if many have got it, if you've set them up, is your stories. You can put them into highlights and you can have nice pretty covers on your highlights, which works quite well. And again, like you want to make sure that the highlights are pushing things that you want to promote, but also showing people what you can offer them. So like mine will say like free resources, I've got my group, my blog, my podcast, tips, success stuff. So I'll share like my testimonials and things in my stories, and then I'll add them there, because then if you've done stories, then they will stay longer, whereas most people know that stories will only last 24 hours once you've done them. The other thing you'll notice that I've been a bit cheeky with, which I got this little tip from Alex Beeden, is my story like my profile picture, I've added a ring, like a coloured ring around it, and that makes it stand out more in the stories feed. As you can see, like if you look at the stories feed, can you see mine there on the, be on the right, I don't know, or on the left? No, it's on the left. So I don't know my right from left. And by putting that extra ring around it, it makes it stand out compared to everybody else's stories more. So that was a little tip from the lovely Alex Beeden. Yeah, so that works really well. And then stories, I am loving stories. And again, they need to be used strategically. So if you don't know how to do a story, does anybody has ever used stories? So let me know if you use stories or if you want some more help on stories. Excuse me. Because we can sort of cover a bit of that quickly, and then we can go into a bit more depth and detail of how we can use them strategically. So Valerie says, ideal posts per day, number of hashtags. So ideal posts per day does depend on your audience, and it does depend on what you want to do. I know people that will post like once or twice a week, and that's fine for them. I tend to post at least once every day. My later, I don't know if any of you have got later, but later says to me that I should, this is like, because you can, if you've got the paid one, it will show you your ideal times. And later tells me that I should post on a Monday between 1:30 and 2:30 once. On a Tuesday between 7 and 8 p.m. It tells me on a Wednesday I should post at 8 a.m. Thursday between 7:30 p.m. and then I should do a second post at 5:30 p.m. It tells me there isn't a good time on a Friday according to my audience, but I would still add a post in there. And it also tells me to post twice on a Saturday, one at 9:30 and one at 3 p.m. And then it tells me that on a Sunday there isn't an ideal time either, so it's not an ideal time to post. So it really does depend on what you can do manageably and what you want to do and what would work for your audience. And that's why I liked later, because I could see that. I would be aiming for at least one post a day for me. I have done more. I used to post like 3 a day, and it was grueling. It was grueling to try and keep up with that schedule. So now I'm a bit easier on myself, and I don't tend to post more than once a day. But yes, I know people that don't add to their feed, but I do like to do a story a day. And again, stories I tend to do as many as I feel like. Basically, whatever it depends on my topic of the day and what I'm working on in my strategy. When it comes to hashtags, Valerie, you can use up to 30 hashtags. And again, I'm just normally called by what the post is and what it's going to serve and who it needs to serve. And then my little hashtag strategy is I have little copy and paste buckets of hashtags in my notes. And I write them on my notes on my Mac because I use a Mac, and then they go to my phone as well, so that I can, depending on where I am, I can pull out those little buckets. And I tend to have little buckets of 10 hashtags so that I can mix and match as I feel like. And I tend to do them, so I've got one that talks, like the one that's about like equestrian businesses, and I will put like horse riding coach, equine therapist, all those things to do with like careers of equestrian businesses that I target. Then I have one that's based like that thinks about like the pain points or the struggles. Another one that does like social media, and I have these little tiny buckets that and so I'll just like copy and paste 10 at a time, and then I know I can have a bit of a mixture because I like to make that simple. If anybody would like a copy of my hashtags, I can get those to you. And the fabulous Danielle from Black Nova, she did a hashtag sheet that she recently shared, and she's offered to share it with you guys in the group too. For her hashtags. But if you'd like mine, at the beginning of the comments I've actually put in a subscribe link, because I've got a lot more tips on Instagram that I'd like to share with you, but I think there's too many to do it all in one live, and it's too many to, well, I don't want to overwhelm you, so I'd like to share a few more in a couple of little emails with you. So it'd be really cool if you'd sign up to that, and I can share you my hashtags there in the buckets. And if we have any hashtags that you'd like me to find for you, I can add those in. So Kat says, I find you feel like it's harder to come up with content because you're trying to match the grid pattern rather than posting whatever you want. Yeah, absolutely. So I would just go with post what gives value to your peeps. Yeah, think about your audience, what's going to serve them, post that. Don't worry about pretty, don't worry about perfect. The age of that is so like 2015. Just leave it back there. But don't really know what to put on them. Can't remember what that was in regards to Kat, but let me know. Beck says, can't get her head around stories, they don't last very long. And I'm going to show you a little trick that I use with stories, but I will probably bring that on to next week's training, because I love doing stories. But they can be quite. You've got to get them right to make the most of them. And so I've got some really cool tips and tricks that I can share with you on stories. So if it's cool, I'll talk a little bit in a minute about stories, but I'd like to go into a bit more depth on stories next week. Steph says, missed your comment there, Alice. Alice does later tell you those insights with the free version. I don't think it does. I think I had to pay for it to get those insights. But I would highly recommend maybe paying for it for a month so you can have a look. But you can also see on your stats, I do believe. I'm just having a look at insights now. Discovery website. I'm just trying. So I think if you go to audience, you can see your times that your audience is on. So if you're not sure where insights is, all you do is you can swipe left on your feed page. There's insights there, and then if you go to audience, again you'll see a little bit more about your audience there. So you'll be able to tell if they're like what you think your ideal client is. So mine says most of my audience are aged between 25 and 34. And then I've got quite a few that are 35 to 44 and quite a few that are 45 to 54. Because, that's probably about right for my ideal clients. 85% are women. And then you can go along and choose the day here, and it will tell you like the times that they're on those days. So you can probably work out posting just before it peaks would be a good plan. If you don't have that, I was just lazy and thought I'd check out later, and I haven't I don't know if I should carry. I think I have carried it on for months, but I'm not really sure it's that big an insight worth paying for, if that makes sense, Alison. So Steph says, I've never really used stories. Do you find it makes a difference to your page reach and interaction? Now the thing is, with stories, you will find that it's a very different audience that watches your stories to the ones who interact with your page. But they're a bit more real and they're a bit more raw, and I get about an average of it normally gets up to about 30 people watch my stories over the day, course of the day, and I try to sort of have a little bit of a theme. So like I've gone about tonight. So this was one that I did for tonight. And so a tip with stories is to start looking at people that you follow and watch some stories and see what you like and what you don't like. If a trick that with stories is if you hold down in the middle of, like, hold your thumb on it or hold your finger on it, you can actually read what it says. If you find that they're going too quickly, I find it's always good to add some text on, because a lot of people watch these with the sound off. So if you've given them a reason to put the sound on, that's good. And I also did trial using a system that adds my words over the top, and that really did work well for me. So it actually gave the subtitles, and I just haven't done it because I've been using Focus to do my videos, which is one of the things on stories. But I want to go through stories in a bit more depth with you guys next week, and how I add like my stickers on there. So like how I make that all starry, because that's not an Instagram sticker, that's one that I've done, and how to keep it in keeping with your branding and your business, and how to make that happen, and some things you can do. So I want to share that in next week's live, which is going to be all about Instagram stories. And like today I said, like, will you be there, and questions, and I get a lot of response to my stories, and it comes in the form of direct messages, and that's what I want, because that then helps people to connect with me. It makes the relationship better, and so on. So yeah, I do find that it makes good, and stories now also show up. They should show up in this feed too. I can't see any, but apparently they do show up in in your feeds and your explore pages. So I'm going to cover a couple of questions, see if there's anything else that I wanted to say. Okay, so let's have a look through the comments. So never really used. Yeah. So Claire says, "How have I got my logo on this live?" I get my logo on this live because I use a system called OBS Studio, which you download to your computer, and I can then add images, and I can share my screen, and I can do lots of other cool stuff. But it's a little bit techie. But if anybody would like me to go through that, maybe one week, I've had somebody ask me if I'd do it, so I might do that for you. One week. I'm not sure how. I'm sure I could do it, but yeah, that's how. So Helen says, yeah, will you cover IGTV separately? I will do some on IGTV. Yes, Helen, if that's what we'd like. Yes, Alice says you wanted that too. So Helen uses Danielle's already. Brilliant. About stories. So what to put on your stories. So I'm going to come to you next week. So this is why you also want to be signing up to the emails, because I'd like to give you a little bit of a stories challenge next week. So Monday, I'm thinking I'll teach you a few tips on stories, and then I'll give you a little bit of a challenge and something to set out what you can put on stories each day, so that hopefully you can start getting more confident with using the stories next week. So I thought that could be a 5-day challenge. That is, if you're all up for a little email 5-day challenge next week on stories, please give me a yes, please, if you're up for it. It will be really simple. I don't want it to be overwhelming. I don't want it to make you go, oh my gosh, I can't do this, this is too much. But I want it to be something you think, oh yeah, do you know, yeah, I can do that today. And oh yeah, that would work for me. And I can do that. And share that. Yeah, so Beck says, definitely interested in the video logo. Yeah, okay. Maybe we'll add that to July, because the next couple of weeks we're talking all about Instagram, but I can certainly do a few little tech things that I can show people that I use. So Helen's up for an Instagram story challenge. Awesome. So it will be really simple next week. And just give you a few little tips and tricks that you can do every day, because you can get more reach using stories. Yes, you can, and you can do like cool things like tag people, add locations, add in the hashtags as well, so that it can get found. Stories are absolutely brilliant, and as I say, it was the stories that I posted on my Instagram channel that sold my my content calendars. I can almost guarantee it. So I've got some really, really cool tips on stories, and it's one thing. Yeah, my coach said to me, "Jenny, you need to teach people how to do stories, because you're good at it." So yeah, so even though you don't understand it, yes, slowly finding your feet with stories, and I have a little pattern to my stories. So on a Monday, I like to do a little bit of something about me on a Monday, and share like why people should follow me, or if they're new to following me, what they should expect. On a Tuesday, I tend to talk about like tips, and I often ask people, like, would you like A or B? And then I do that tip. On a Wednesday, I do a Work With Me Wednesday, so I tend to show people a little bit behind the scenes of something that I'm working on. On a Thursday, I like to talk about something that I feel almost like something that gets a little bit under my skin or makes me a little bit ranty. So if you don't like to hear me rant, don't listen to my Thursday story. And then on a Friday, I then push for something that I'm actually selling, or give people the choice to go out and buy from me. So by using that structure, it helps a little bit more. So some of the questions that we had in so far that people were thinking about with Instagram, I'm going to get to. So Beck says, are stories always like videos then? No, you can do images, and you can do lives, and you can do, well, I'm going to just, for Beck's sake, show you all the cool things that you can do with stories. So to get to add a story, you can click the camera at the top. So it's the camera on the top left corner. And if you go along the very bottom, yeah, you can have type. So that's where you can just put like a text. You can keep it just plain text. So you can type anything in there. And then by clicking the button at the top where it says modern neon typewriter, it changes the font, and it also gives you sort of different background colours that you could choose from. So once you've typed something, type something, and then you can and then you just click the arrow, and then you've got these other things on the top. So the first arrow is a down arrow. Now that will save whatever you've just done. So if you've recorded a video, if you want to save the picture, that will save it. Mine is set, I think, automatically to save to my camera roll anyway, but if you click that, it will save. Then you've got this smiley face thing, which is where you can do some cool, like, whatever they are, like spots or whatever. And I think they probably change the faces. Then you've got like your link. Now, if you've got 10,000 followers, you can add a swipe up with the link. But if you don't have 10,000 followers, and you've got Instagram TV, you can connect it to Instagram TV, and then it will add the swipe up feature, but only to Instagram TV. To add the link. And then the next one along is where you can add stickers, you can add your GIFs, And I love GIFs. They kind of really bring your stories alive. They make it more colourful. And these are ones, and you've got like a location. So if you've got a local business, I would always suggest tagging your location on your posts. On your stories, add the location tag in. On your main post, add the location tag in, because again, if you're looking for people in your specific area, that's really going to help. Then the app mention is to tag people, and you're always welcome to tag me. I always like people to tag me. And then you can put your hashtags in. You can find GIFs. You can put clocks in. You can put countdowns. You've got like the slider, so you can do like how epic a post is, and people can slide along. And with this, you can change the smiley face. So like, is this on fire? Does this make you cross? And you can put a question in, and that encourages people to engage. And people do tend to engage more with stories. But there's loads of cool stuff to play around with there. But next week, I'm thinking I will share my phone screen, because I can do that on the live, and we can go through setting up some cool things. And then you've got like the pencil, so you can draw on stuff. So if you wanted to add a frame, for example, I often add frames, I just select the main pencil and I go to the larger size, and then I just draw around there. Yeah, and if you wanted to make it colour coded, right, to match your branding, you can hold down on any of the colours, and that will bring up this rainbow. You can change the colours to one that's like more like yours, or if you want to make it like something that's in there the same colour as that, you can just click the eyedropper, and then you can make it really, really match your brand. But I'll go through again in a bit more detail all of this stuff. And then you've got like the highlighter pencil, you've got the cool like neon-y sort of pencil, and a rubber in the pencil things. And of course you can then add text. And then once you've done it, you can send it to your story, and you can also send it to your Facebook story if you wish. And I often do tend to send them to both, although Facebook doesn't allow people to engage in the same way as it does on the Instagram stories. So that's kind of like a quick look into stories yet, and see, look, I've already got like a direct message because somebody's reacted to my story. So it's yeah, and that's what that little mail thing at the top, like your paper airplane. And I get those because people like my stories, and it just makes me more personal. So it's really, really, really cool. And you can add pictures and do lots of things. So I will show you how to do all of those, and how to add more than one picture to a post, to make them look really cool, to make them like pretty and on brand if you want. And so Alison says, how do you see the people have swiped to... Aha, right, okay. So if you're in the stories and you want to see the insights, because as I say, they're only there for like 24 hours, unless you've saved them to highlights. So I can save this to a highlight now if I want to, and put that into my highlight folders by clicking on the little heart that says highlight. But see at the bottom it says seen by 32 people. Click on that, and it's going to show you some of the stats. So actions taken from this story, 2. Yeah. Now I've had 33 people reached with this story. So the fact that I've had 2 actions, that's not bad. That's like 1% roughly. It's had 35 impressions. I haven't had any new follows from it, but this is the second part of the story, so I'm not surprised. It tells me how many navigated forwards and backwards, how many exited on that story. I tend not to take them too much to heart if people exit or say something horrible, because it's just life. But you can also click on, there's a graph. Yeah. So that was the graph. That's the bit that shows you on the graph. And then next to that, you've got like the numbers. So it will even show you the people on your, so you can see who's looked at your stories as well. So this makes it quite a nice thing to know, because you can start to say, oh, actually, they look at a lot of my stories, they're engaging, and you can then possibly even go back and send them messages, because you can message straight off here. So I could say, oh, there's Claire. Look, Claire saw my story today. So I could now send Claire a message and go, hey, Claire, thanks for watching my story, if I wanted to. but I've done it virtually, Claire. So yeah, and so on. So you can see who's on there. That one wants me to go to Facebook. I deleted my account today, which is annoying. My app, because I'm desperate to have music on my Facebook app, and everybody seems to have. When they do the training, they're showing you music on, and I don't have the ability. But so then you've got like this arrow thing, which again you can stop to promote people. Like you can promote your stories in the feed. So you can, if you've got business accounts, you can start so you can say to send people to your profile, your website, direct messages. So I could use that as a little as an ad. So that's what the next thing across was. I don't know how to get out of this now. There we go. Oh no. It won't let me out. It wants me to do an advert. I don't want to do an advert anymore. See if I can come out of that and open it up again. Yeah, so if you click on the funny arrow, it wants you to do an advert with your story. And and then again you can save it. So you get another option to save it later, which is always good. And some of my Instagram videos, you'll probably notice they were made as stories. I saved them all separately. I then added them to a video editor that put all the little snippets together, and then I added them to Instagram TV. And then I've only had to do it once. Or you can do it the other way around, do the big video and then cut it up and share it to your story. And then you've got the other arrow which points up, and that will then send it as to a post. So you can take your story and put it on your feed as a post. So if it's really cool, you can do that. And then, of course, you can delete it from there as well. So if you've done a story and you don't like it, you have the choice to delete it. So that's how you get there, by basically going to your story, watching your story, and then where it says seen by, click on that and you can see the insights for those stories. Which is quite cool, and you can see who's interacted, who voted, who didn't vote, who swiped, and so on. I hope that answers your question. That's probably on a bit too long. So yeah, Bex says we'll watch this later and get your head around it. Yeah, Bex, and say it's very mishmashed, this live tonight. So I would suggest get on the link that I added, which is at the top of the thread. Sign up for the emails, and I will put it in smaller bite-sized chunks that actually follow in order, so it doesn't make you feel really overwhelmed. So some of the questions that people asked me when I put out that we were doing this today was hashtag ideas, and as I mentioned earlier, think about your client and hashtags that they would be using. So it could be hashtags for their occupation, or their horse, or like in the colour of their horse, or what their struggles are, and then actually add some hashtags that relate to your product and your services, and put those into little bunches, and so they will come out in the emails that I want to send, but they will only go to people on this particular email list. So do get them. Claire wants to know how to get more followers, and again I'll go into more detail in the emails, but one of the ways is through networking, and it's actually about going and finding the right people, because again, like building a website, if you build it, they won't come. You might be lucky on a few by using the hashtags, but actually if you go out there and you find them and you network with them, you will find that it will grow your following much quicker. But again, it's quite a complex subject, so I'd like to put it in a separate email and to split them up into small sections that you can take action on. So please do get onto the email list, because I will share the exact steps, like 5 steps that I use for that strategy on getting more followers. Because I'm aware that I've talked for nearly an hour already, so I'm not going to keep you on doing that, but I will show you how to do that, and we've got another 3 weeks to go through it. And then, somebody asked about the difference between business and personal. Same as like your Facebook profile and your page. If it's your personal, you can have it private, so it's not always seen. Whereas a business cannot be private, but you also get the access to the insights. You get the opportunity to advertise on Instagram, and a lot of cool extra features because you're a business that you wouldn't normally have if it was private. And then somebody says, I'm trying to look at all my questions. difference between, about getting sales, and I would like to cover that a bit more in like the stories section and in the emails. But you can actually link products and be sell, like tag your products so that they link to your shop. But you need to be, I did find the page for this, you need to actually be approved to sell, like approved for approved for shopping. So you have to be you have to agree with their merchant agreements and commerce policies, have an Instagram business account. So if you want to sell via your shop, you need the Instagram business account. You then have to connect it to your Facebook page, and Facebook page needs to have the shop section as well. So you've got like the goods in your Facebook page, and you connect the Facebook catalogue to Instagram, and then you can actually, I've made that sound really complicated. It's not that complicated, but you can actually sell through your page, and you can tag those products into your stories and into your posts so that people can do those things. So I hope this has been useful. I've still got loads on my notes that I'd love to cover with you. Has anybody got any quick questions before I love you and leave you all? It's been really lovely to be back. And so there is so much to cover on this subject, and I would like to make it a little bit more basic for you and step by step, as I know tonight I've kind of gone whoosh and your heads are all probably burning. So please, I'll pop the link in again, but please sign up to get the Instagram tips and the bonuses. I'll just put it in here, sign up here, so you can, well, that didn't work very well because I forgot to put a space, so that you can get onto the Instagram emails, because they won't be going out to the majority of my list. They will only go to the people that actually want to have the Instagram stuff, and so on. So I hope that that's helped. I hope that that's helped you with a really quick insight. I will be covering a bit more on the basics in the email that's going to go out this week. So please sign up for that. It should be with you by Thursday, if not before. And then Monday next week, we're going to talk about how to utilise stories. So if you've got any questions about stories, please get them to me. Please add them in the group or add them onto this post, so that I can make sure that I cover all your questions within our Marketing Monday session. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate you coming on board. I hope it's useful. It's never my intention to overwhelm you, but I know it can feel a bit overwhelming. So let's get on there. We'll start at the beginning, and I'll try and help you through each step so that you feel like you can master Instagram by the end of the month. And I'm going to set you a challenge. How many followers are you going to get by the end of June? This is my challenge to you. I would love to know. You can either direct message me and say, right, this is my target. I'm on this now. I want to get to there, and I'm going to give you mine. I am currently on 1,195 followers. I want to get, I'm going to set myself a big target here. I want to get to 1,500 by the end of June. I'll be so you're going to hold me accountable to that. I'm going to be doing lots of things to be growing my audience and building my list, and I'll be hoping that you'll come along for the ride. So thanks so much for joining me. I can't wait to share more with you. Please do make sure that you sign up to those emails so that I can send you my tip sheets, and hopefully they'll all... There's a cat in here, so it just freaked me out. We'll help you where you're at, so you can sort of dip in and dip out with things that you think will be of value to you. So Man says, I've got some lovely genuine followers. Perhaps if we all link up our genuine ones, we could build our network. Yes, absolutely. And one of the cool things that I'd really like to start doing is in the stories, you can go live, and when you're on live, you can actually bring people on like the live, so it shares to both your feeds. So I would love, for each week we're going through, if anybody would like to come on board and let me talk to you about your business, and you can talk about your business a bit more like like sort of an interview where I talk to you about your business, where you're at, any tips, anything I can help you with, live on Instagram, do let me know, and let's see if we can have some fun with that too, because that would be really, really cool. I would love to do that, to share the lives. So, because that will help to build up our followers too. So, thanks so much as always. I will look forward to seeing you next week. Do set the timer at 8 o'clock next week. We're going to carry on with this. If you don't get the emails, don't worry. If you don't want to sign up to my emails, that's cool. But please still join me, and I hope that I can answer any questions and share any tips, because I want you to all master it, and we're all going to push up. So I've got another 200 followers, or say to 300 followers. So you're going to help me. You're going to help me. I'm going to show you that this can be done. 300 followers by the end of the month. Yay! Let's do it. Right. I will see you all really, really soon.